Okay, so let's talk about we're gonna talk about refactoring this, and then we're gonna use the state object, add state object. I'm gonna give you an example of maintaining state. Okay, so let's get back to our this content view. We did this in our last project, right? And we have our struct, our content view. Go down here, we have our preview struct, which is generated right here. But if you look at this is a little bit it's kind of hard to make heads or tails of it. So what we need to do is we kind of need to refactor this, right? This is the SwiftUI equivalent of a bloated view controller, right? This is a bloated view. So let's go ahead and start refactoring by taking some of this function out and putting this functionality in an extension. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to say extension, content view. Okay. And now I'm going to take this out, right? So now we're going to, at some point, we're going to make this, well, I'm going to just do this in a way where it makes sense, right? So I'm going to take this. And there are two ways we can do this. I highlighted this whole H stack right here from beginning to end. You want to double check that this is that I'm have the proper beginning and ending. I go here, fold it up, and let's see, 19 and 38, right? So 19 down to spacer 38. I'm going to say refactor, extract to method. Okay. All right. And I'm going to call this my title view. Title of view. Okay. Now I'm going to Command B, make sure this bills. The bill failed, right? Sometimes this doesn't, I don't know why doing this doesn't work. However, let's go back. Okay, now we're back. We can do it like this. Since that didn't work, I'm going to build. Let's go back and build. See if then the build succeeds. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this right here, Command X right there. And of course, this should disappear here, right? Yes. Command X. Then I'm going to take this and put it down here. Okay. And I'm going to say file private func. We don't even need file private actually, right? I'm going to just say func title of view, and title of view is this. I'm going to put this right here. And this returns some view. Okay. Return. Now I'm going to explain what that means, some view, but not this exact moment. Okay. So now I have this. And now I'm going to call this, and this is going to say title of view. And I'm going to build. And of course, the build succeeded. And now I'm going to reload this. And of course, it builds it, has the title in there. And the title should be, it's in here as well, right? See if I comment it out. If I comment it out, it's gone, right? See, it's gone. So let's bring it back. Okay, so now we have this. We have the title of view. So now I need to go spacer, frame. Now the scroll view. I'm going to say vertical scrolling podcast. Let's see if I can do this. Refactor, extract a method. And no, that's not working. So for some reason, there is a slight bug in the refactor, the automated refactoring. But if that doesn't work, you can manually do it, right? I'm going to say vertical scrolling. Yeah, vertical scrolling, horizontal scrolling, I'm sorry. Horizontal horizontal scrolling list. Okay. And of course, that's not down here. I'm going to go down here and make that right here. Bunk horizontal scrolling list. Okay. And there it goes. We have it back. Horizontal scrolling list. Okay. And so now this is like starting to look a little less. So now I'm going to say column titles right here. That's what this is. New episode, show all, show all. So I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to call this column titles. Command X, column Titile, column titles. And I'm going to go down here and call this right here bunk column Titile, column titles. And now we're back. This is column titles. So you see how this is starting to become more readable, right? Now we have a vertical stack right here, right under column titles. We want to go down here. Let me just double check and make sure that this is ending where it says yes. There we go. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to say vertical stack, vertical scrolling podcast. Okay, these aren't the greatest names, right? Man, X vertically scrolling podcasts. vertically scrolling podcasts. Okay. And now I need to go back and make a function. Vertically scrolling podcasts. Right. Okay. And this should be here, and there we go. So right here in this body, this is it right here, everything. Okay. The vertically scrolling podcast, which is right here, the column titles, space or horizontally scrolling podcast, right here, spacer of 20, what 20 points or whatever, and title view, which is up here. Okay. Now that we have this, and I'm going to push this down, get it out the way so we're not confused. Now, this body makes a lot more sense. Okay. And if we want to, we can go to here at the bottom and we can continue to break this out even more, right? But that's maybe another thing. We don't have to worry about that. But now let's go ahead and do something. So right above our column titles, I want to put a button. Right above the column titles, I want to put a button. So let me see something. So right above our column titles, I'm going to put, let's see, right above the column titles, I'm going to put this right here. I'm going to put another H stack. H, I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to put an H stack. H stack. Right? And then I'm going to make a button. Let's make a spacer, right? Spacer on one side, and another spacer on another side, and then we're going to say button in the middle, right? Right. And I'm going to do this label, and there we go, right? Okay, so now we're going to say, I'm going to create some text on here and even put a frame on this button. So let's do this. I'm going to say frame 350, 45. Frame with 350, height 45. Okay. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to put a border on here just so we can see border dot black comma with 4. As you can see, this is starting to shape up, right? Right under here, I'm gonna say spacer, and let's go ahead and put a frame height dot frame, right? HEIGHT height. So I'm gonna say 20. Okay. There you go. Now let's go ahead and let's make let's put some text in here, and we're gonna say change the background color, right? Okay. Change the background color. I'm gonna say text, right? Change BG color. Okay, so now as you can see that, but I need to change the font color as well, right? So let's go ahead and let's see dot foreground color dot white. Okay. And then let's change our dot font dot system, right? Size 24, weight dot bold. Okay, design dot default. Okay, or better yet, let's do it. Make our change our instead of doing it this color, I'd like to make that background white, right? So foreground is black, right? And right, and then dot. Instead of saying background color, just say background. Okay. And then we'll say background color dot white. And that should go right there. That's the font color. Um, mhm, 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 mhm. um, button. So let me see something. Okay, so I had to go back and redo some of this. In order to get the background color to change and fit properly, I had to use a rectangle with a fill modifier and a frame and overlay and put the button in there and use modifiers on there as well. Same frame modifier. Yeah, it's a little bit confusing, but this is what we had before, but we don't need this anymore. And this works perfectly. And so I can go here and say, print, it's working. It's right. And now I can, right. And when I click on this button, it's working, should print in the console, and it is right down here. So yeah. Um, so now we understand that this is, but now what I want to do is I want to abstract this out, right? I don't want this here because again, it's cluttering up stuff. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to say change state button. X out this, change state, button, change state button. And I'm going to go down here and create a function called, right, this should be func change state button this some view return, and that should do it. Right, and so let's and of course there is a build problem, build failed. Change state button cannot be found in scope, and why change state button. You know why? Because I put this in the wrong way. Let me go here and Command X. Then I'll put this at the top, change state button. And now, somewhere along the line, I probably missed a bracket. So I like stacking my functions down, not X. So I'm back out of scope again. Let me do this. 39. And that should do it. There you go. So now I have my change state button. So now what I'm going to do is, well, that's not, I'm gonna build this, go back and make sure it's working. Okay, so now what I need to do is I'm going to demonstrate state. So what I want to do just to demonstrate state, this isn't any real functionality, is you notice that on this, there's a gradient on this, right? Let me go and just comment this out for a second so you can see what's behind it. And I'm gonna comment titles, comment change state button, and comment out the horizontal scrolling. And so now you can see what I'm talking about. As you look at this, you'll see that there's a gradient, right? So what I want to do is I want to change the gradient. I want to make this red and green instead of pink. I want to be able to toggle it off. This is the state. Now, let me explain something to you. People say, well, it's just a variable. What makes it special? Why is a state wrapper on a variable? Why is it special? Let me explain. So, in general, when you use UI kit, when you change the value of a property, your UI will not change automatically. You will either need some type of usually you'll need some type of computer property for when the value changes that something happens, right? So for example, I will say change this to night state, right? Changes from gradient to all black when I click the button. Well, in order to do that, I have to create a variable. We'll call it all night. And inside that variable, it'll say, we'll have a functionality says did set. The syntax will look something like this. Var is night. Okay. And make it Boolean, right? It will say did set, and when is night is changed, right? When it's changed, we'll say reset background color functionality. So we'll put in here do something, right? Do something, you know, when the value is changed, right? Of course, that doesn't work with this. This isn't UI kit. It's Swift UI. But in Swift UI, you don't have to do that. What happens is we're not going to call it is night. Yeah, we'll call this is night just for the sake of demonstration purposes. Okay. Instead of doing it this way, let's get rid of it. We'll do this way. At state bar is night equals false because our default state is night. Okay. Now that we have this, let's go back and uncomment all of our functionality. All right, so now we have all our functionality back. You see how simple that was, right? So this creates the gradient, all this functionality, right? So what I want to do is replace cyan and purple with darker colors, right? Say black and gray. So here's what we're going to do, right? We can do it just like this. I want you to follow along. And we're going to use a ternary operator, right? So when we go down here to our button, right? Let's see, change state button, right? Functionality for the change state button. And right here where it says it's working, we're going to say, first of all, we're going to toggle it on and off, right? So we're going to say is night equals is night. Okay. So if is night is true, give me a second. Stop. If is night is true, right? Set it to false. Otherwise, set it to true. So basically, this makes it toggle, period. Right? Now, because it toggles, when it toggles, right, the value that it has will automatically affect this. So we don't have to say on did set do something. I can simply come right here and say, check this out. I'm going to say is night is true. Then I'm going to say okay, dot black and dot gray. Okay. Else cyan and purple. Right? Now let me go ahead and rebuild this. Okay. When I click this, it changes. See, I'm toggling on and off. So just having state here, I don't have to have any type of other functionality for when the state changes, do this. State holds this. And let me explain something else too. This is in a struct, right? So the difference between structs, one of the differences between structs and classes is that structs are copies, right? Meaning that a method inside of the struct will not be able to modify a class, an object property, unless you make it mutable, right? Another thing, but you notice these are immutable, right? That's why we have at state. Another thing is the reason why we have structs instead of classes, structs are lighter, right? Instead of the class view controllers that we usually have in UI kit. Structs are lighter. And these are constantly being created and destroyed, created and destroyed. State holds the state, right? It holds the value and automatically updates your view for you. And I hope that makes sense, and I hope this demonstrated it, right? Again, if you were going to do this in UI kit, you'd say var is night, blah, 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 boom, did set, and do whatever, right? You'd have it change these values, right? And you'd probably have a variable for this. But instead now, you just use is night. That's it. Simple as that. And so this is how at stake works. And hope this makes sense. And yeah, we'll go on to the next and we'll continue to build on this, on to the next.